live. Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show on another very lovely hot day in London here. I am joined as ever by my co-host, Mr. Stop Spamming, and tonight we are going to be covering a well-known Dawah apologist called Smile2Jannah. He's basically given a mixture of waffle about science and philosophy to a supposed agnostic. And since we're going to be talking kind of the atheist / agnostic position, Stops, you're going to give a little intro about defining atheism for us just before we get started.
Yeah, I used to do that, and funny enough, it just pops up again. I don't know why. All of a sudden, people on about, well, you don't know what you're doing. Atheist is this, and you're all doing communism and things like that. So, hello everybody. Smile2Jannah makes me smile. And what I'd just like to point out that if I take a very neutral position, I'm just looking at etymology and epistemology. So that means it's a scientific approach where I look at the words. Theos comes from the Greek word God, with God, which means that a theist is somebody who believes that there's a personal God. That's it. The atheist, also from Greek, atheos, without God. In other words, the opposite of theist is somebody who does not believe what the theist believes. So if the theist believes there's a personal God, the atheist does not believe that. Full stop. So there's no claim being made. I don't claim anything regarding cosmogony, in other words, how the universe came about or evolution or anything like that. It's simply like atheism is simply the answer to a single question. Do you believe gods exist? The answer is no, because there's no good reason to believe that gods exist, so I don't. Gnostic is about knowledge. So the agnostic, again, is somebody who does not know. Gnostic knows, agnostic does not know. So I am an atheist because I don't believe what a theist believes, and I'm also an agnostic because I don't know whether or not gods exist somewhere in the universe or outside of the universe or whatever. I can't be 100% sure. It's unlikely, but I can't be 100% certain. That's why I'm an atheist agnostic or an agnostic atheist, whichever you prefer. That's all.
Brilliant. Yep, absolutely clear definition. It's a definition which particularly Dawah apologists struggle with all the time. I just think they can't wrap their minds around the fact that there are people without a God belief, and so they attach all kinds of other random crap to it. But yeah.
Fantastic. Also, maybe I need to point out one other thing, because there's other takes on this, okay? Because this is what I delivered now is the basic definition, right? If anybody else, as a human being, adds stuff to it, this is where the expression then comes, where people, I don't know, they label themselves as hard atheist or soft atheist or new atheist or anti-theist or whatever. But this is on top of and in addition to the basic definition. And that's just something
Absolutely.
that you need to know. Finished.
Yep, absolutely. Right, now with that out of the way, we're going to have a look at Smile2Jannah talking to this agnostic, I suppose, about why Islam is true and why he should believe. So we're just going to jump right in and see how bad the apologetics get.
So Reese, you believe in God, or?
In my country, they say eat sweet, talk sweet.
I'll take that. Thank you, brother.
Go on, Zisha.
I thought you were from here, Ali.
Nice.
Do you know what it is, brother? It's not that I don't believe in God. I don't think there isn't a God. For me, I feel like I don't know if there is or there isn't. So I'm kind of on that middle spectrum of I don't believe, but I don't disbelieve. Okay. When I was a lot younger, I was a bit of a hardcore atheist, very, religion stupid. Who needs Christianity? Who needs Islam? Who needs Judaism? But when I grew up, as we all inevitably do, I kind of started to think a little bit more logically about it and thought, well, if there's so many people that follow, say, Islam, it can't all be wrong.
Right. I mean, this is the thing, right? So therefore, he grew up and started thinking logically, and the first thing he thought of was the dumbest argument ever. I mean, Yeah, I mean, the appeal to what's it? Appeal to popularity
Yeah.
factor, basically. If enough people believe it, it must be true. Well, yeah. I mean, I know this is kind of basic stuff for people, but if that's the case, then that meant that the Earth was flat when enough people believed it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just so primitive. And what's funny is like the way he's kind of dismissive of like, oh yeah, you know, when I was younger and I was like hardcore atheist, I thought religion was stupid. You know, what a kind of a bigoted position to hold. It's like it's much better to grow up and then become stupid yourself. I mean, this is just. Oh.
I'm a hardcore non-believer that dragons exist.
Yeah. I mean, but this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of funny because I'll also say, like, from my point of view, as much as I accept the agnostic position, I do find it hard to believe that someone can actually be dead center in the middle. I think maybe in philosophic, you know, in philosophical terms you could do that, but in practical terms, it's not like I see it more like Richard Dawkins does. You know, he has a kind of sliding scale with it. Scale of 1 to 7 of whether he's a believer or not, how likely it is to be true. I really find it hard to believe that anyone's dead center. I think people are going to be more to one side or another. That's just a personal thing for me. But yeah, apparently because there's lots of Muslims, there must be something in it. That's his argument. And this is the agnostic saying it. So I'm a little bit suspicious that this guy actually is agnostic, but anyway.
But I think it's between emotion and rational thinking, because as soon as you switch on logical and rational thinking, and especially critical thinking, cards are out of the window. It's that easy.
Yeah. And as Duda Boy says,
this is exactly it. Yeah, thanks, dude.
You think it must be true. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a terrible start. Anyway, let's carry on.
And having all the Muslim friends I had growing up, I kind of was shielded from the negativity that the world's put out for Islam, you know, terrorism and, you know, 9/11, 7/7 and all that.
How does that shield you?
Well, I'm thinking how how is it the world is putting out? Was this done by Muslims, these terror attacks, or are you trying to pretend that they weren't and they've been lied
Exactly.
about? I mean, basically, what that sounds to me like is like you had some Muslim mates who probably made excuses for these things, and or said, "Oh, well, it's not all Muslims," which is true, obviously, isn't it? I mean, it's a minority that do that.
Deflect.
But yeah, again, shield from what? It's they're you know the terrorists are the ones that are doing it. So is this a liar somehow? But yeah, it's a bit of a strange comment. Anyway, it's been on.
My Muslim friends have encouraged me. You know, I have a Quran, and I talk with my Muslim friends a lot. I work with a lot of Muslims as well. But I don't know. I feel like it's that first step. I feel like I find it hard to reconcile faith. I'm one of those people that I need to see it. I need to know it. And I feel that sometimes with any religion, some of it is just, I believe, even if I don't know. That's what it is for me.
So when it comes to God, or when it comes to what you see around you, the universe, the trees, the birds, and when you look at the complex ecosystem, you look at no matter how much you magnify, whether it's the atom, whether it's the DNA, you see an immense amount of information, cohesion. What do you personally attribute that to?
So the way I've always thought about that is the majesty of life is that it is so random, in that what we have as a species, as a universe, as Earth, and you know, all throughout human civilization, I think its randomness or its unlikeliness is what makes it so special.
So
yeah,
What?
I mean, I'll go ahead. You go ahead, Stops.
No, I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what this guy's actually saying. He's talking, but he's not saying anything. I don't quite understand what he's trying to tell us. What is his actual point here?
It is rambling, to be honest. I mean, I think I'm not even sure he knows what his own position is. Smile2Jannah is doing the typical, yeah, and as Smile points out, look at the trees. Just embarrassing that he
And the
used that
painting
term,
needs a painter. Yeah.
look at the trees, therefore Islam. Yeah, which is just the whole illusion of design thing, which I mean, I feel like it's been debunked so many times. I'm not even going to bother going into this one. I mean,
Exactly.
this is not. That does not get you anywhere close to Islam or a god or anything else. That's just saying, yes, we live in nature, and yes, isn't it? There's some complexity to it. Yeah. So what? By what definition? How does that show a god? I mean, they're just words. But yeah, the agnostic just seems to be wrapped up in his own daydreams. I'm not even sure he really understands what he's saying. So he's doing a bang up job. I mean, they're both terrible at the moment, I think, but. Should we push on and see if I think he'll eventually get something a bit more coherent, but let's push on.
Am I correct to assume you mean chance, yeah? That all of this came about by some inexplicable chance?
That's more or less the mentality that I have in some regard, yeah.
But when you look at and when you add the probability of all of this coming from nothing, it's pretty much zero.
Already just jumped the gun on that. Nobody said anything about this coming from nothing bollocks. I mean, every single time they've got to just jump into this fallacy again. You don't have to think that everything came from nothing. All right, you've got various physicists, as Rob has gone through this enough times when he's been on. Various physicists have various models about how the universe could have arisen. Again, not from a philosophical nothing, but from a state where we haven't got anything to be recognized as the universe now, or you've got cyclical universes, or the universe could have just always existed in one form or another. There's 100 ways you can answer this, but again, this is nothing to do with being able to demonstrate a God exists, and certainly not that Islam is true. So, fucking failure as usual. Sorry, Stops. I'm in a ranty mood tonight. It must be the heat. Did you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, it's okay. It's cool. It's very calm. 26 degrees. Excellent.
Right, we'll spin on a bit, see what else he's got.
This is true.
And even if we look, ever since we can remember, and even if we look in history, civilizations, the principle that we use to rationally live our life, it's normally, for example, if somebody did a DNA test to see if a child's theirs or not, and they said 85% it's yours, 15% it's not. Person goes, yes. So, yes, what? It's not mine. So, no, you missed the whole point.
Yeah.
Like, it's 15% it's not yours, but 85% it is. Like even somebody says that if I walk into my kitchen, I see a freshly made tea in a saucer, really fancy, cup with the golden spoon in it and everything. You could say it's chance, which is 0.0001%, but 99.9999% that somebody put it there.
Well, no, actually, I mean, I would say it's closer than that to knowing that it's 100%, simply because we know that's how cups come about. I mean, I know this is something that's been explained over and over again, but I keep bringing it up. We show the difference between something that doesn't come about in nature, which is a cup of tea with a golden spoon in, and something which obviously shows that human beings have made it. And you do that by comparing it to things that do occur naturally without the input of a human being or some other kind of intelligence. So this is just a fucking stupid answer. And as far as the DNA, I couldn't even work out what the point he was on about with that DNA analogy. That was just all over the place.
He somehow remembers some stuff which he's heard, probably from Sortis or somebody, where they went on about these numbers. That it's a very low probability, like 0.0000, that something comes about by chance, and there's a very high probability in the 10 to the power of 23 that this is the level of complexity. And because the level of complexity is so high, it needs a creator to do this. And this is why it cannot be chance, because the probability is so low. So this is what the two things that they're trying to always sort of juxtaposition, and this doesn't work. I mean, it's silly.
Well, yeah, it's a fallacy a start to say. I mean, because it's based on the 6 cosmological constants or something like that, isn't it? Where this argument kind of springs from. If you move the numbers. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you know? Have you heard of Martin Rees?
Martin Rees.
Yeah,
Just hang about.
and his six numbers. They always bring that up because this is exactly this, where they say the probability is so low that this can come about by itself, which nobody is saying, and this is this is the argument that they're bringing forward, and it's ludicrous. There's nothing there. There's no there because they're just saying, well, there's a high number, and this shows that it must have been a creator, and this means it's our creator, our personal favorite creator. That's the only explanation for those six numbers, and it's silly.
But it's a jump to that. I mean, there's so many arguments against this, including the fact that, look, we don't have another universe to compare it to. So you can't really do these probabilistic frameworks
Right.
because
Yeah.
you need, unless you've got a multiverse. But then if you've got a multiverse with potentially infinite worlds, then it would be very unlikely this wouldn't happen. So it would still fall apart. So, yeah, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible argument.
Same with the contingency. I mean, how many times have you heard people saying, well, it's unlikely, and then they go into this contingency argument, and it is so silly because it's just another form of the cosmological one which you just came up with, and we know how to tackle it, and it's just word games. I know that Mojab loves it. Because he can go and rant and rave and twist his words and things like that, but that's all they have. And they don't
They all do.
realize
I mean,
that people like Leibniz only came up with these ideas just to go cementing the faith. It's not cementing the existence of a creator God or something. It's just the faith and the I don't know, the blind belief that they are trying to somehow what would you call it? Put a foundation to it. And this is silly because they're so stupid, these arguments.
Well, I mean, they have been. I think we get some slightly different ones as we go along, but unfortunately, with a lot of these Dawah videos, you have to plow through this same basic level of bullshit before you can even get to the new bullshit that's just as bad. But
the actual meat of the matter. Yeah.
Anyways, let's push on. See what else he's got.
Call it the inference to the best explanation. That's what the entire body of science relies upon. That you look at the probability of something. If it's more likely to be X thing, then it's X.
That is not the scientific. Where the fuck is he getting that from? That is nuts. This is why I wanted Hassan here tonight. It's a shame Hassan's not here because he would be pulling his hair out listening to that being said about science. That is not how science is done. You don't say, well, you've got X probability, therefore it is this thing. Where is he getting that shit from?
And this is the same thing, the best probability, the best explanation. Why is the best explanation that you can come up with the real one? It just does not compute.
But it's so stupid. The point about science is that you have to come up with a testable model. And you don't just come up with a set of random probabilities that you think something is true and then just say, all right, well, this one is because we think that the probabilities. I mean, that's not even how mathematics is done, let alone science. I mean, I don't know what the fuck he's saying with this, but it just shows the ignorance. They really do not know anything about science. And I'm a complete lay person, so is Stops. But you know, we can understand this is just a basic error on the face of it.
Yeah, it's the thing. 2 + 2 = 14. It sounds nice. I mean, 2 + 2 is 4 is maybe correct, but it doesn't sound as nice as 14. 14 has this special ring to it. So I prefer the 14, so I'm going to go with 14. It doesn't work like that.
That sounds like something that would be in the Quran, actually, I have to say. All right, let's push on, see what else is. Actually, I seem to remember he says a lot of stupid things about science in this.
If it's Y thing, then it's Y.
And that applies on a religious perspective.
That is from a scientific and a sociological point of view. For example, you're crossing the road, and you see some blood on the floor. You're going to assume it's from, either a pigeon, or a human being. Yeah, you're not going to assume that it's, Dave the alien came from, universe Y and came and did a giant poo, and that poo is actually.
I mean, sorry, I have to pause it there because this is just demented. I mean, first of all, it could be any number of things. It could be something that looks
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's
it could
incoherent
be
rambling,
a
really.
trick of the could be a trick of the light or something, you know, that makes it look more red than it is. It could be fucking tomato sauce out of somebody's bun. I mean, you wouldn't. But what's he trying to say with it? Is it well? This is what he's trying to say, and this is the sad thing about it, as far as I can tell. He's basically saying, look, well, you've got these possibilities you assume, and then whatever you think is the most likely must be true. I mean, this is
Yeah,
pretty much what
exactly.
his argument is. So therefore, that is how his entire faith in Islam works. Other than the fact he was brainwashed into it as a kid, but it's just kind of like, oh, well, I justify it because it seems to make the most sense to me. That's the exact opposite of science. That is the exact opposite of actually determining whether something is likely to be true or not. And he doesn't seem to understand it.
Yeah, but Plastic, you see, this is what I said in the beginning. He argues like a child. This is exactly how a 5-year-old would argue. It looks at a puddle and says, this is it because that is what I can imagine. And then for that child, that is it. It's happy with it. It's got a, it's found an explanation. It's got a, I don't know, some sort of a degree of satisfaction from having worked out what this is. Whether it is true or not, it doesn't care. And this is exactly what this guy is doing.
That's the point. Well, he automatically assumes that what he believes is true. Therefore, I've just got to try and fit
Exactly.
that a priori belief. But like Smile says, he knows he won't get much pushback from this guy, so he knows he's 3-1 wild. That's very true. This guy is incredibly weak, and as I say, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was actually kind of a Muslim himself. How badly he argues in this video. Partly one of the reasons I wanted to go through it, because it's displayed as it was like, oh, I won this argument against this atheist. And it's like, no, you spoke to someone who's well, I don't want to be unkind, so I'll just say somebody who's very lacking in critical thinking. But yes, Miles right to point that out. Right, let's spin on, see a little bit more.
Blood, and that is actually valuable in Planet Zog. We don't go to that, like, even if you get a missed call from your boss and your name of your boss comes on your phone, you're going to assume it's your boss, not that he's been held hostage by Jeremy, who really likes drinking orange juice, and he's, you know, his amount.
Did you want me to start? I mean, this is the most.
No, I'm just disgusted. I'm the one pulling this hair, really. I mean, this is, what the fuck is he doing?
I don't know, but again, it is like we've all realized before, they cannot use an analogy, they can't do comparison, they can't do any illustrative description of anything. They just meander absolute crap. I mean, I'll carry it on until he gets to the end of it, and then we'll see if we can make any sense of it.
Is finished and he's blindfolded. Do you see?
Yeah.
So
I do.
yeah, these are outlandish examples, but I still think that they're more plausible than saying that, as complex as we are as human beings, you got the trees, the birds, we need oxygen, there's oxygen here, we need water, the water's here.
I mean, that's stupid in itself. Does he not know the history of the planet? Of course he doesn't know. I mean, oxygen wasn't... He thinks oxygen was just placed here for us. No, there was basically no oxygen, as far as I know, when the planet first formed, and it was a carbon dioxide / something else atmosphere. I can't remember, but basically it wasn't like an oxygen-rich atmosphere.
No. This was created by bacteria.
Yeah, exactly. It was the microbial life that ended up releasing oxygen over 1 billion years or something, which then essentially by releasing it as their waste product, and then that made it an oxygen rich enough environment then for more complex life to come out of it. It wasn't God put some oxygen here for the humans. I mean, it's so primitive, it's embarrassing. This guy does live in the 21st century. He was, as far as I know, educated in Britain. The fact that he talks like someone from the Middle Ages is just this is what Islam does to the brain. I've got to say, as harsh as that sounds, this is what it does. Allah doesn't survive Occam's razor either. Yeah, absolutely.
We need the bees for pollen. We need the.
We need the body, not we as humans. No, again, this is adaptation to the environment. These creatures didn't come out of nowhere. It was a long history of the environment changing and organisms adapting to fit certain niches. It's not, oh, we needed some pollen, so therefore some bees showed up. I mean, what the fuck? Sorry. So, all right, I better play a bit more of this, otherwise we'll
Well,
be
it needs to be planned. You see, there needs to be a designer. There needs to be an intelligent being that has a will, that has willpower and can do things. And otherwise, it doesn't compute. It doesn't work. So they need to have this sort of celestial plan in front of them. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Right. We'll decide on year 20. We'll put the bees down there for the pollen.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. Yeah.
It's a fairy tale. I mean, oh dear. All right, let's play on a bit more.
Continuation of humanity, it's all there, bro. And when we look at everything, why is it that when it comes to everything else, we think, you know what, let's go with the logical option. But when it comes to thinking about this whole universe, we suddenly become, our IQ drops. And suddenly we're like, you know what, could be an alien, you know, it could maybe it came from nothing, maybe it was this or it was that. Yeah. Do you think maybe it's how we're conditioned?
Yeah, I think, especially as civilization has changed over times, I think people have been conditioned to think that people need religion less. So I think maybe a lot.
Sorry, I've got to interrupt there because no. That is not the case. What's happened is that we've actually gained knowledge through scientific inquiry, and we understand more about the world. And the more and more we understand, the less and less the literal claims of religion fit into it. Now, nobody is making a claim when they're doing science that on the value or the need for religion in terms of community or whatever else. But what it is saying is that the fairy tales that come with that religion don't stand up to what we can demonstrate scientifically. That's all that's happening. It's not brainwashing people. It's just knowledge. It's what we've learned as a human family, if you like, over the past, particularly over the past sort of 300-400 years. Oh, dear.
And religion, I don't know if you understand that religion is only the end result of some people believing in some superhuman, supernatural entity somewhere. Just because some people think, oh yeah, that sounds plausible because your neighbor believes it. So the geography makes a difference. And then people start believing this, and this is then religion. And he seems to say that religion is the one that drives it. And no, it's not. It's the individual who has this God belief for some odd reason, who cannot get over this because everybody else around him, this peer pressure is unbelievable. Like in the Middle East, I had colleagues who definitely did not believe any of this nonsense, but they went to the mosque on Friday because it was all due to just peer pressure, because they had to go there. And this is what we see today. So it's not religion. It's the God belief that has been superseded by knowledge.
And but this is a funny thing because they'll play both sides of this when it suits them. So, for example, if you point, if you look at the scientists of really important parts of history, like the 19th century, and you've got Darwin, and you've got well, you go back earlier, you've got Newton, all these.
Well, then Newton and all these people, yeah.
But for the most part, they say, oh yeah, but they were all religious, like, and that's
of course
that is true. And it's like, okay, then how was this gathering of scientific knowledge indoctrinating people not to believe in religion if all the proponents, at least at that time, were religious? No, they just happened to have some kind of commitment to scientific rigor, and therefore these were the answers. The later impact of that knowledge was organic on the society. As people learned more, it was the later generations that became less religious. So it's not like there was all, like Newton was saying, oh, don't believe in God. No, he believed in freaking angels and all sorts of, all the same superstitions that everybody else did. But the knowledge he gained had an impact on society, and it was organic. There's no point bitching about, oh, we've been indoctrinated not to believe in religion. No, it's the opposite is true. Oh, dearie me.
Yeah, but even today you have people, I mean, was it Francis Crick or somebody, they still believe in their particular gods, or, well, sort of a god and a sort of a belief, but it doesn't stop them from bringing out scientific experiments and scientific results.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are probably hesitant to debate the kind of conversation that you guys are having because it would force them to kind of reevaluate and to accept, well, actually, maybe there is something, and it forces you to be responsible for your actions, and not a lot of people like being made responsible for their actions.
That's a
It's
very
the
good
other way
point.
around.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
exactly
this
the
is
other way around.
oh, there's so much in that actually. Sorry for people watching. I know we're pausing this quite a lot, but there is a lot of to unpack, so to speak. I mean, firstly, he's saying like, oh, people just aren't willing to have this debate. Are you fucking kidding me? There's more debate around religion in the last 20 years, thanks to the internet, than there's ever been in the past. People are not afraid to have these conversations. And as you say, like stops as you were about to allude to yourself. I mean, in terms of it means you have to accept responsibility. Really? Does it?
Exactly.
I don't think it does. I think it's saying let's put everything into hands of a creator God, and basically it's all his plan. So, oh yeah,
It's the excuse to stop thinking.
absolutely.
I mean, what? 'Cause I'm not.
It's like you've seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
That you had one of them, the guy with the goatee. He knew about the Matrix. He knew about the real world, but when he met with the agents, he said, "I want to be put back in." You know what I mean? He knew about the reality, but he wanted to be put back in, and he wanted to be numbed by desire or whatnot. He wanted that false.
This is exactly the opposite. He's
It's a
trying to make
wonderful
that as the
example.
no. It's the atheist who get. If you want to use that metaphor for Matrix, it's the atheist who breaks out, and it will be somebody like apostate prophet who, having recognised this is all crap, says, "No, put me back in the Matrix. Put me in the Christian version of the Matrix now, because I'd rather do that." Because, as he says, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. That's what it is to believe in this supernatural stuff without any good reason to. So this, to use that as a
He's shooting
metaphor.
himself in the foot. He doesn't
I mean, can you believe it? I mean, that is exactly that is a great metaphor for the religious person deluding themselves, not the other way around. I mean, yeah. Hi, Steve. Sesham is the best of bullshitters. Yeah, he is. He's definitely top tier. He's definitely top tier. There's a few there that
Image of reality, and
It was a good film. It was a good commentary on human condition.
some call it a documentary.
Yes.
You see, so focusing back on you, what do you think is stopping you from, looking behind the curtain and realizing, because hearts of hearts, bro, this wasn't chance. Like, you see, if a Mona Lisa thing, like sometimes we get some painters over here, we love and appreciate a painting, but when it comes to, he's painted a tree, he's painted a bird, maybe a squirrel, we're like, this is fantastic, it'll sell for millions. However, when we look at the actual squirrel, the actual tree, we're like, chance, innit?
Do you know what it is for me, bro?
What? What does that even mean? Someone paints a picture, and what? You recognise it as a picture? Somebody looks at a real life version of it and says, by chance. What is that? This is fucking gibberish. I don't. Sorry, stops. I'm at a loss as to what that was supposed to mean.
Okay, I understand the point he's trying to make. He said,
Oh, please,
we see the painting.
Explain, because I'm lost here with this.
Well, he says we see the people here who are painting a tree. So we see the painting and we know it requires a painter. And then we look at the real tree and we see.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
We see just nature, and we don't see the designer behind the tree the way that we see the painting of the tree being painted by the painter.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I think the heat is getting to me here. I think I must have zoned out. Sorry, folks. See, this is why you need a second person, when you sort of zone out like that. It doesn't help the Smile2Jannah.
Preferably not drunk.
No, I've had nothing to drink, I promise. Not a single drop of alcohol.
I think for me, again, going back to my original point, and I feel this is a common theme with a lot of religions, it's not just specific to Islam, you'll find it in Judaism, you'll find it in Christianity. Again, I think it's the idea that a lot of your particular creeds or beliefs are in some regards rooted in just believing that there'll be a reward for it, or that it's in the interest of Allah, for example. And although I think that's a perfectly reasonable and decent way for one to live their life, for me, I ask...
Go ahead.
What is this guy on about? How can you say that this is a reasonable belief? That if you kowtow to some imaginary God, that you get a reward, that this is reasonable to believe this? Come on, that's the most unreasonable thing. Whatever be like, do you go and bow to James Bond or Harry Potter? Come on, this is crazy.
Well, the thing is, he started off actually making a reasonable point in that it seems to be that you're not you're doing this for bad reasons because it's like to get your reward, which I think is a fair point to make, because that to me does corrupt the idea of doing good works. Now, I know there'll be some people who say, well, look, there's no true altruism, and you're always going to gain something, even if it's just a feeling of, like you've done a good bit of work, help somebody out. But the thing is, when you're talking about gaining what you think is going to be infinite paradise, that seems to be a lot bigger reward than just going and paying your zakat or something like that. So I think he started off making a good point that there is something a little bit unseemly about this as a moral system, but then he just collapses into it's reasonable. So he's terrible, this guy. What you think he's Dudabai says sorry, I think he's being diplomatic to the Muslim guy. He might, but I mean, you do get this as a bit of a phenomenon, don't you, where people are trying to be polite and maybe even a little bit condescending and stuff. But so it's possible, dude, but I actually think he's also just really bad at this, and he's just not thinking critically.
I think he's much too soft.
Yeah,
accommodating.
Let's carry on.
This sounds like I'm trying to be rude, but I'm not. It's almost like
Don't worry, I can take it. I got Speaker's Corner,
so I've seen a lot of things at Speaker's Corner. Yeah,
this is nothing.
It feels like almost
control,
and that you're
yeah. Say it. I want to answer what is in your head rather than you thinking how is he. It's not about offense, bro. I genuinely want you to benefit from this conversation and walk away feeling more enlightened and like something's clicked. So if you're
spoilers, that's never happened in any conversation with any Dawah apologist anywhere ever. No one has come away enlightened. Sorry, just had to try.
Saying control, it's pick your control. Yeah. Either you put your control in the hands of the creator who genuinely wants the best for you, or you put yourself in the control of humanity, the doctor, the scientist, the teacher, who.
Yeah, and right, he says this as if this is terrible. I mean, when Smile2Jannah has got some pain in his body, does he go to the doctor or does he go to the mosque? I think he goes to the doctor, doesn't he? So this is just so fucking stupid.
Well, the other thing is, if you look at a humanist will not, in any sense, allow you to hit your wife. A humanist will not go and condone slavery. A humanist will not do any of these things. But in Islam, this is totally normal. It's acceptable to keep slaves. It's acceptable to have several wives. It's acceptable to maltreat people around you, especially if they're your wives. So there's a lot of wrong here that he's saying. The whole, I don't know, the premise is wrong, because he's saying, well, for you, maybe it makes sense, but he is not the representative for 99% of the population. I mean, 50% of the population is female, and they are being abused horribly by Islam.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like the 10% LGBTQ. What about all the others? All the other minorities are treated badly by Islam. So come on, be realistic.
And yeah, he's saying, put your hands in the creator who we know has, got our best interests at heart. Well, it doesn't seem that way for the vast majority in the exact way that you're talking about. So, but he's ultimately what he's saying is like, oh, well, you've got to put your faith in authority. You've got to put your hands in an authority. So either you can do it in this God which we can't demonstrate, which is completely incoherent, that basically just says beg and worship, gives you a load of terrible morality, or you can put it in the hands of other humans, which, flawed as they are, which is fair enough, there is at least the attempt by some humans to try and build some kind of reasonable society. And when you talk about experts, things like doctors, you're damn right I want to go to a competent doctor rather than a fucking imam if I've got a medical problem. So, God's not going to help you with that. Anyways. Right, let's carry on with it.
Yeah, they're putting studies out there, but those studies have had fundings. Those scientists have to put food on the table. They want to get certain people sponsoring their research or whatnot, so they're not going to be researching those things that actually are beneficial for society. It's what will get him that grant.
Yeah, there's no scientist doing any research on things that might benefit from society. So apparently, all the medical research that has been done is all corrupted. It's all there to what point isn't it? I mean, this is just the kind of expression of the anti-scientific kind of mentality that seems to be going around in general at the moment. Apart from it's the worst Islam version of it, where yes, there's some corruption in science. No one denies that. Yes, there are conflicts of interest over things like funding, but that doesn't mean, therefore, you just dump all the science in the bin. It means that you
Spot on.
try and
Yeah.
correct for those errors. I mean, what is less corrupt than science? I can't think of many institutions really. I think because at least you have mechanisms in place to try to counter that. You can do those experiments yourself. You can look at the repeatability and stuff like this. So, this is just a ridiculous answer of saying because there's a few issues around science because humans can be corrupted. Therefore, dump it all in the bin and support Allah. I mean, it's fucking non-argument as far as I can tell. Sorry, Stops. Did you want to add anything? I don't want this just to be
No,
me.
it's spot on. No, perfect. Yeah.
Anyways, all right, let's spin on.
So we can put food on the table, sort of thing. That teacher that won't get fired. Yeah, that teacher that won't get fired for saying the truth. Why? Because the head teacher's not in favor of that and doesn't agree with that.
Let me ask you this: as a Muslim, how does Islam teach you? How does it teach faith over, say? How does it teach you to reconcile faith over, say, imperative evidence of something right in front of you? Like, I don't know. What does Islam teach about believing what the word of the Quran is and what Allah says, rather than what you can see in front of you?
So the Quran has a principle, yeah. In fact, this principle is echoed within science as well. It's called the falsification test. Yeah, and the
Oh dear. So what are we going to? So like it now? Is this the falsification test? Which includes it includes in the test saying that you will not find, so you will not be able to succeed at this challenge, and that's supposed to be a falsification test. Oh, right. So sorry. Should I spin on a bit and see what this?
Yeah, but did you hear what he called this? He called it imperative evidence.
Yeah, I think he was trying to mean empirical. I think
Empirical, yeah. But this is how scientifically literate he is.
Well, let's spin on and see where he goes with this.
falsification test means that for you to do good science, don't prove your theory to be true, prove it to be false.
Right.
That's proper science, which unfortunately science is moving away from. Yeah. However,
How is science moving? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Slops. Go ahead.
No, that's bullshit. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, he said, how is science moving away from that principle? There is no evidence at all that people are just coming up and saying, you know what, we don't need to have this new theory be falsified. We're just going to assume it's true. Where is that anywhere in science?
Yeah, we don't need to test drugs anymore. We just put them on the market. Yeah, testing not required.
if you actually look conceptually, that's how it's supposed to be. Now, the Quran does the same thing. It says that had it been from anyone other than Allah, in it you would have found a lot of contradictions. It invites you to do a falsification test. It invites you, look, why don't you observe? Why don't you look into nature? And that's why for 10 centuries, and that's why.
So fuck me, we're back to look at the trees again. I mean, look, if in terms of contradictions, anyone who's looked at Islam for more than 10 minutes knows that there's hundreds of contradictions and things that don't make sense and things that just categorically false in the Quran, in the Hadiths, in all the Islamic scripture. So this is just bullshit claim making. But then again, to say, yeah, the Quran does say, look at nature, but that's not a falsification test. What does it say? It says, look at nature. This is proof that Allah is real. That's not a falsification test. That's just basically saying, accept this because it's in this book, basically, and also look at the trees. I mean, it's fucking garbage.
But it doesn't say look at nature. It says only look at God's nature. Look at what the Quran describes as nature. Look at what the Quran says. Look at what God says. It never says, go and look at nature. This is a lie. These people propagate over and over and over. No, the Quran nowhere says this. It only refers to God's nature and what the Quran says. That's it. Go and study the Quran, not nature.
Mm.
You had people like Adam Smith, you had people like Nietzsche, and you had all of these guys that actually didn't. Nietzsche actually, is it all right if we, bro, should we go there? Because I think that's, yeah.
So I don't know. Just while they're moving, I mean, he mentions Adam Smith and Nietzsche. Neither of these are scientists. Adam Smith was an economist, and Nietzsche was a philosopher. So I don't know why he's bringing these into the conversation. But anyways,
Because that's going to get flagged. That's going to get flagged for copyright. You know that.
Yeah, I think that's probably why they're doing it.
I have no idea what they're referring to there. But
So
This is a common thing that people do. If you record something for YouTube, people switch on music because they know that if you put this on YouTube, it's going to be flagged as a copyright infraction.
oh right, okay,
Infraction.
fair enough.
no worries. So with Nietzsche was saying there's actually a book of his called Antichrist. You know Nietzsche, isn't it? Friedrich Nietzsche.
Vaguely, I know of him. He's massive moustache. He was a philosopher, and he was like, "God is dead" or something like that, right? And we killed him or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. So he also didn't like the fact, even though he was an atheist, he said you can't compare Islam with Christianity because Islam actually welcomes progress, science, etc., whilst Christianity has been suppressing it.
He's attributing this to Nietzsche, is he? I don't remember Nietzsche.
I don't know what he's doing.
I mean, even if Nietzsche did say that, it means absolutely nothing. But I don't remember. I mean, if anybody in the audience can confirm or deny that that's true, let us know in the comments.
A lot of things, like when Europe was going through the Dark Ages, Islam was going through the Golden Ages. If you look at a lot of the inventions that we have today, a lot of them have been rooted in some sort of Islamic contribution within the Golden Era.
No.
I knew this bit would freak you out, Stops.
Jesus, I've looked at this so many times, so many years, and they're still spreading the same identical lie. This is so horrific. This is so beneath everything. How can you be so dishonest? This is deplorable. Unbelievable. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Makes me
No,
mad.
that's fine. I mean, for anyone who might be new, I mean, the whole, 1,001 inventions that Islam basically was at the root of every kind of major development. It's been debunked 1,000 times. Just go and Google some videos on it. It's not worth really going into here, but it's absolute crap, that claim. And the Golden Age in general, yes, there was some good scientific work done in a few different fields, but it was not this amazing, you can't compare it to something like what happened in Europe in the 18th and 19th century. I mean, it pales into insignificance, the level of science or the level of science that's being done today. I mean, the Golden Age had its place, but it wasn't that golden in my view anyway. If you looked into it.
Well, there was nothing original. People say, yeah, they invented algebra and blah. No, the Sumerians did. Come on, we've had it for thousands of years before Islam. And the statement is, and I challenge anyone to show them or prove me wrong. There is not a single invention or discovery made by a Muslim, except for one guy who got a Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1999. Zevaya from Egypt, but he was working in the US. Other than that, nothing. Zilch, nada. It's easy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would be confident. I know you've looked into this a hell of a lot more than I thought, so you're in a more confident position to say that. I mean, I've put it this way: all the claims that I've heard these Dawah guys make about inventions have always turned out to be a lie. Every single one. So I can certainly say that. Anyways, let's push on with this. See where they go.
Right. I was about to say, yeah, if you look at the Islamic Golden Age, I'm sure there were massive contributions.
In fact, even if you look like the scientific method, some say that it's attributed to Ibn al-Haytham.
No, the only people who say that are Dawah apologists. And I did on my channel a couple of years ago, I did a detailed breakdown on Smile2Jannah because he was making these stupid claims about al-Haytham, etc. And I went through and debunked all this stuff. He made a contribution in terms of the towards what we would consider now the scientific method. I can't remember what it was. I think he formalized experimentation a bit more than so. I mean, I'm not saying it's not. It's still an important contribution, but I mean, somebody like Isaac Newton would be far greater. It'd be far better, more reasonable to say he's the father of science. And even then, I think that's unreasonable. There is no father of science or scientific method. It's been a long journey with different bits and pieces added over time. The only people who make these claims are idiot Dawah clowns like him.
The thing is, why would you say that he's a Muslim? He was Zoroastrian. I don't understand it. Just because he wrote in his treat, whatever documentation he made, he did it because he was paid by people who then demanded that he say in the name of Allah. So he just put this in the beginning and then he forgot about it. And then whatever. I mean, come on. Whatever people say that he invented the camera obscura, the pinhole camera. And yet
that one
we have people hundreds of years earlier, like the Greeks.
The Chinese didn't they?
Exactly.
Version of that. And
the Chinese were experimenting with the pinhole camera, and this is just that the only thing that he did, and this is it's great. He was a very clever guy. He was really super. So he went and made the first drawings of why this happens, how this happens. So he put lines into the camera obscura, into the pinhole camera, and to show what it is that we saw and why we saw it that way. So this is the development, the contribution that he made. And yes, he was a polymath. Yes, he was a brilliant man, maybe even a genius. I'm not taking any of the credit away from him. Absolutely. But it's not that he discovered all these things or he invented all these things. No, it is just an additional step. And that's brilliant. But don't make it out to look like he is the father, whatever, the inventor of everything. Like Al-Khwarizmi,
father of science.
They say he invented algorithms because he was called Al-Khwarizmi.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, look, most societies, major societies, have made a contribution to science,
exactly,
and that's great, and and we should recognize all of that. But when you start lying as profusely as they do, to basically say that all the important inventions was essentially rooted in Islam, that's obvious lies. It's obvious lies. It's been demonstrated to be lies, and they need to stop.
Communists did that.
Well, especially when at any other point in the argument, he's going to be arguing against basic science. So you can't have your cake and eat it, mate. You can't say that fucking all science is down to Islam, but we reject it now. I mean, come on, it's just ridiculous.
And the USSR used to do that. They used to say everything was invented by communists, by Russians. I mean, same thing. And by the way, I was a little bit mesmerized at the moment listening to Thriller in the background. So I'm hoping that you're not going to get into trouble because it's quite obviously playing this.
No, it's fine. It's been up on his channel for a few days, this video, and he hasn't got a problem with it. So I doubt we'll get it.
I hope so.
We're more likely to get it taken down for me swearing too much in this episode. Right, I'll try and tone it down a bit. I realise this is not my channel. I should be a little bit more professional. Right. Anyways, let's get into it, see what else has he got.
And Ibn al-Haytham was a Muslim. So Muslims have been in science, they've been in philosophy, they've been in logic for a long time. So Islam and science doesn't contradict each other. Whilst you've got scriptures like you've got Catholics that will say that when you add all the dates together, the earth is only 6,000 years old.
Yeah, there's a lot of denominations in Christianity and they can't all seem to agree.
Do you see?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'll just say one more thing on this because I don't want to keep pausing it. But look, the fact that Islam is in contradiction to evolution is just the biggest example of how it doesn't fit with science. And these guys will rather try to bring down evolution rather than just admit that their book is wrong. So this claim is stupid. And that's for pointing it at the Christians or any other religious group. Yeah, of course, all their stuff is not in line with science either, as you'd expect from all these old books. But I mean, the difference with, at least with the Catholics, they've accepted that evolution, for example, is true. So they are miles ahead of the Muslims. They'll basically just reinterpret the text as, not literal, which is, I'll give them some points for that. It's better than what you're doing, basically just denying that an entire field of science is a conspiracy against Islam, which is essentially where they end up. So yeah, I just think but I'm not going to go through all the hundred. I don't think it's worth going through the hundreds of different places where Islam got science wrong at this point, because we'll be here for another 5 hours. But anyways, Stop. Did you want to add anything to that, or shall I just spin on?
Carry on.
But however, when it comes to the Quran will say stuff like, "Oh, when you look up at the clouds, or Allah brings the heavy clouds." Now, when you look up at the clouds, do they seem heavy to you?
Well, no.
Yeah. But if you were to Google it, when you get a chance, when you leave, just Google how heavy is an average cloud. It's 500 tons. 500 tons.
Deceptively light looking, and yeah.
Right, so this is the right. I've got to stop it here because this is the new apologetic which I came across. Excuse me. Now it's obviously it's probably not new. It's just I don't remember hearing this before. But Stocks told me just before we got going he'd heard it recently. Right, first of all, this is dumb for a number of reasons. For the actual bit of the Quran he's talking about, it's just using it as a metaphor to say the cloud is heavy. It's not literally saying, "Oh, did you know that look those clouds up there? They look light, but they're actually heavy." It's not being used in that way. But secondly, what do you mean by heavy? But what is considered heavy and what is considered light on this imaginary scale you're using? Number three. The average cloud that he's talking about is true, 500 tons. That's spread over the average side. It's not actually just like a single little cloud you'll see in the sky. You're talking about the average cloud cluster, which is spread over, well, I think it's a square mile. So therefore, you spread that weight out, it's very, very light. So to say that this is somehow like immense knowledge of the Quran, it's not. It's basically just using words which have no scientific. It's not put on any kind of scientific scale. Just saying it's heavy or it's light. Well, based on what? I mean, an elephant is heavy compared to a mouse. An elephant is light compared to a planet. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But it's also ignoring the fact that a cloud that heavy is spread over a square mile. So therefore it is, or a square kilometer. I can't remember. It's one of the two. So therefore, even if you're going to accept this stupid argument, it's still light over that much area. But sorry, Stop. Did you want to? Because I know you said that this had come up before. Did you want to throw in anything on top of this?
No, you actually did quite well, because the thing is, it's a play on words. Because if I if I sit in the lab and an experiment goes wrong, I will say I left the lab with a failed experiment and I left it with a heavy heart. But that doesn't mean that my heart is now half a kilo heavier than it was than when I entered the lab. So it's just an idiom. So you're using it to express different things. The other thing is the Quran doesn't say it like that. It says he lifts the clouds, the heavy. And this doesn't really mean anything the way that it is written there. If you go and you look at the word itself and you look at how many times does it appear in the Quran, you will see that it appears like 25, 30 times, but it always means something different. So what they're doing is they're associating one particular meaning, because remember in Arabic in general, even in the modern standard Arabic, but particularly in old classic Arabic, one word has like 50 different meanings. And what he's doing is he's picking out the one which actually is wrong, because it's not, the clouds are not heavy. So the mass is being made up out of water droplets, but the density is so low, which is why they can rise up in the atmosphere, which is more dense, up until they get to the so-called the dew point, where you have the equilibrium between density and mass. And that is where the clouds accumulate. And that is all there is to it. So taking just one element, the word heavy, is scientifically inaccurate, because you need to put it in relationship to where it is and why it is there, how this whole thing develops. So you need to then explain adiabatic cooling and all these other things that go around the formation of clouds. And just saying heavy and then, oh yeah, this wasn't God, nobody could have. That's silly. That's absolutely silly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I wanted to highlight this partly because I put it on the thumbnail, but also this is his best argument. Just to let you know, it's even further downhill for the rest of the video.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at a bit more.
Do you see?
Yeah.
And that when something comes from God, it has to be precise, it has to be accurate. Even when Allah's addressing the spider when it spins the web, Allah addresses the spider in the feminine. And if you again were to research, The males don't spin the spider's web, it's the females. Even when Allah
Right, a couple of points on that. Number one, that's not actually true. It's true that female spiders do the bulk of the web spinning, and particularly the large webs that we're all familiar with. But male spiders do actually spin some web sometimes. One example in particular is where they deposit their sperm. They'll put like a web covering around it to protect it for the eggs to be kind of done there. Again, sorry, my anatomy of spiders is not that good, so how they mate and everything. But this is it. I did double check this because I wasn't sure, so I checked this beforehand. So he's wrong there. So to say that was accurate or precise is wrong. The other thing I wanted to ask you though, Socks, is he right saying that they use the feminine when they're talking about spiders in the Quran? Is that
but
true?
it's the same as with the bees. It's just the way that Arabic is constructed. You have a very funny situation in Germany, for example, in the German language, because not only do you have male and female, you also have neutral, and this is arbitrary. So in other words, you can have the chair, which is masculine, and the table as well, but the top of the table is feminine. So it's just it's a mix. It doesn't really make sense, and there is no real there's no, it's just down to interpretation. There is no law that says if you talk about a horse, then it needs to be a male or a female or whatever, and this then means that this horse is always male or female, and this is why it is X. That's silly. So if like in German, for example, the horse is neutral. So does that mean horses cannot procreate? So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's again, it's just
makes sense.
a random little bit. And the thing is, as I say, he's not even actually correct in terms of that male spiders do actually spin some web. So, but yeah, it's just, I mean, they reach for such pathetic things to try and make their case. I mean, it's embarrassing. Anyways, right, let's spin on a bit.
says we sent down iron. Sending down iron, now today scientists know that iron was actually not created on Earth, it was actually seeded from meteors.
See, again, it's just wrong. Like most of the iron it is true that some iron does get deposited from meteorites, but it's a small amount. The most iron, like all the constituent parts of the Earth, were brought together through gravity, which formed the planet in the first place over a couple of how many billion years it was, or tens of millions of years. So the iron is there's way more iron in the core of the Earth than there is on the surface because it was part of the makeup of the planet as it came together. So this is just factually wrong.
But there are no elements that are being produced on Earth. Everything, if you call it sent down, everything was sent down. I don't know what sending down means.
Well, actually,
it only works on a flat Earth. It doesn't work on a globe.
Yeah, but there's various. In the Quran, I'm sure there's a point where somebody where they say things like cattle was sent down to
on parachutes.
My God! So does that mean that they flew down from space on a meteor? I mean, it's ridiculous. Just very conveniently using these words in different ways when it suits their argument. But once again, the core argument is actually wrong. So it's just
like the Quran says, every living thing is made from water. Can you show me something that is made from water? It does not exist. You can't make anything from water. So they conveniently change it to mean with water. And then they say, well, a human cell contains anything between 50 and 80% water, depending on the age of the person. That is correct. But you cannot make anything from water.
Different things now, aren't they? I mean, containing something can be made by something is two different things.
Exactly. If you have a chair made of wood, that is possible.
Anyways, let's carry on.
That came, and that's how we had iron. So when it comes to what's there, what's logical, what's rational, Islam and logic and rationality goes hand in hand. Islam welcomes you to critique, to look. However, on the one hand, you've got science, but on the other hand, you've got the metaphysical stuff that even Einstein says, for example, like morality. Science doesn't claim to solve and deal with morality. there's a lot
Einstein
of
said
things
this?
that science can't deal.
Sorry, did you want to say something?
No, I just said, did Einstein really say this?
I don't know, but if he did, what relevance has it got? I mean,
that was going to be the second part. Even if he did, so bloody, so what? Yeah.
he just throws in these random pseudo quotations, which half of them are probably not true, that have no relevance to the argument. I mean, that's number one apology. Yeah, anyone who wants to get into Dawah, do that, because that is a key component.
With consciousness. Consciousness, you've got metaphysics and all of these elements. You know, dark matter, science is not really...
Well, science can't deal with metaphysics. Maybe could be because metaphysics is not fucking science, is it? Yeah, science can't deal with non-scientific things. Yeah. So what? How is this a fucking point about anything?
Well, and it hasn't discovered everything, so there must be God.
Oh yeah, and also the whole thing about consciousness. Oh, I mean, science doesn't fully understand consciousness yet. Yeah, okay. I mean,
And dark matter. So...
we do have fields of neuroscience which are working on these issues. So yeah, I mean, just because science doesn't know everything yet doesn't mean that therefore it should be abandoned. Again, these terrible arguments.
Cognizant and understanding of these things. So if we...
I would agree that, say, religion is a much better guider for like morals, for sure. I wouldn't ever look to science for morals. I would.
Yeah, I don't think science
Why
ever
not?
said you should own slaves. So I think science is, by being absolutely neutral, morally speaking, it's already better than Islam because it doesn't allow slavery. So,
Well, morality is about the well-being of human beings, okay? And no, hang on, not only. I need to correct myself there. It's also about it's about the entire environment. And this is why I think you bloody well have to ask science about this, because science tells you how do you increase the well-being of the planet. Exactly. How it's nature in general. How can I positively impact the planet is something that I cannot fathom without science.
well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly a useful tool, isn't it? I mean, if you know, I mean, science can tell you what things are dangerous and safe to consume. I mean, that's pretty important in terms of human well-being.
Yeah, another example. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's plenty of ways where science is useful in morality, but yeah, it doesn't dictate it. I mean, the scientific method doesn't dictate morality, of course not. But science is a useful tool in way of leading a more moral life and a better life. So yeah, it's just a crap argument again.
I agree. I think, especially when it comes to a moralistic view of life, I would definitely think religion does a good job of that.
And that's the reality, bro. Like, true scientists like Einstein said, look, it's not the job of scientists to deal with moral issues. And the thing is, like, religion doesn't, like Quran is not a book of science. Yes, it may deal and you can extrapolate certain things and say, wow, this is amazing, it's fantastic, it's very precise. But Quran is not a book of science, because science as a process, as if you look in the philosophy of science, science is continuously evolving and changing. That's the beauty of science.
Yes, why it's better than religion, quite frankly, because religion is frozen in place, isn't it? So therefore, if your God tells you you can have slaves, you're stuck with that forever, unless you reinterpret your religion, which, to be fair, Jews and Christians have for the most part done that. Unfortunately, Muslims haven't, which is why you're so far behind. That's why there's so many problems with Islam, because you can't face the modern world. Where science doesn't have that problem. As you say, you get the new evidence, you update the science, you get improved models. That is the beauty of it. I mean, it's funny because he's kind of recognizing the truth there about the positives of that is, but then it'll always go back to, oh, but then that means that you haven't got a grounding or something. If you don't ground it in God, then it's not really morality or some bullshit like that. And it's just well, look at where your grounded morality has got us: war, slavery, sex slavery, child marriage, killing apostates, and on it goes. Killing blasphemers. I mean, if that's the best that your God can do, then you failed. Anyways,
it's not static and stationary. So what
the Quran is finite, it's final, right?
Exactly.
It's unchangeable, it's the immutable word of God.
Because that's morality. And just like if you deal today, like you probably heard, not to, because you're a working man, I'll just make the point and I'll just leave it to you. I don't want it to affect you, but very recently there was a court case in which they were excited that, you know, a man is defined as a man and a woman is defined as a woman. And that sort of stuff is what we're debating here. Whilst they're saying, you know, 30 years ago, this is how the dress was okay. However, now in German swimming pools, women are allowed to walk around topless. Why? Because they don't want to offend a certain community. So morals, if you don't have an anchor for morals.
Did you want to cut in there, mate? Considering that he's talking about your
What is he talking
place of residence there in Germany. What is this stuff about the pools? I've not read it.
Women are allowed to walk around topless. Oh, come on. Where
Is he just making stuff up? Is he? Is he just talking crap? I don't.
Totally, there's nothing in this. Oh my goodness. No, there is not a single woman walking around topless. You have to go to a nudist camp or nudist beach, or what some swimming pools allow, some cities allow, is that women can go topless in the swimming pool when there's, you know, but that's it.
All right, so
I think it's like that in most places. I think it's like that.
I mean, none of this crap that he's talking. I mean, he's completely off topic now. He's supposed to be talking about whether Islam is true, why this guy should believe in Islam, and he's just talking about random, a court case here or something like that. Like, what has this got to do with the fucking topic, for God's sake?
Because he says that men are men and women are women, and in Islam it's very clear. You only have Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve, and that is the whole point that he's trying to make here. Mankind is confused because if you grow up as a man and you feel like a woman, you're not allowed to change. You're not allowed to do that. You have to stick with it, and even if you're suffering, you have to go through with it. And if you are like, if you're gay, you're really screwed. You're not allowed to live out whatever you love or whomever you love. You're not allowed to do that. You have to stick to your lane where you were born, and there's no switching lanes. And this is what he's saying is good, which I think is bad.
Yeah,
like they're saying, for example, the right hand is good, the left hand is bad. The right hand is for eating, the left hand is for wiping your bum. And this is why, if you are left-handed, you're screwed.
Well, yeah, I mean, in his mind, it's much better to oppress someone their whole life and make sure that they live in misery rather than saying, you know what, if you have a same-sex partner.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, dear. Yeah, we're so backwards with our, human rights and stuff, aren't we? Anyways, right, we just got a little bit more of this. I'm going to spin on.
Morals, society is chaos.
I very much agree. I mean, obviously, I'm 29, so I've always grown up in a Western society that was free from when I was born, in the sense that there was less restriction, there was less barriers to people being people. But I agree with you to an extent that we do need certain moral guidance. There do need to be certain barriers to, let's not take the mick, because I agree with you, there is a limit. And I think it's tricky because a lot of people, if you try to have a rational conversation about a moralistic view of what's right and what's wrong, some people will just get completely mad. And, we live in a free country, we live in a free world, we live in as close as a democracy as we can only hope to be living in. But I agree with you on that, and I think, we do need some sort of bare minimum principles.
We have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how do you think we have laws in this country? They weren't here from the freaking Quran. We haven't got Sharia. Well, not yet, anyway. So this is just ridiculous. Yeah, you have a society, and we work these things out together, and you try and do it on rational principles rather than religious superstitions. You tend to get a better society that way. If you don't believe that, go have a look at Afghanistan. Now, I mean, he's weird because he's saying to him like, oh yeah, we have to have limits, so therefore I agree with you, and we've got this democratic country, etc. Right? These are all the things that Smile2Jannah doesn't agree with. He doesn't want a democracy. He doesn't want the freedom to be able to change laws based on the best available information and updating whether we think, were we reasonable in calling something immoral 100 years ago, like being gay or something like that. Yeah, we update our morality because we get wiser as a human beings, hopefully. Smile2Jannah is against all of that. He's basically saying, no, I want to live in the Middle Ages forever. I want to oppress everyone forever because that's what I think my God wants. And yet this agnostic is standing there saying, oh, yeah, so I sort of agree with you. It's like, you fucking don't. You just don't realize what you're talking to.
Mm.
God, sorry, another rant. I'll have to release my favorite rants at some point, maybe on like on a podcast, the Drastic's best rants or something. Right. Yeah, we got a little bit more of this. So I think we got about another 2 to 3 minutes before it kind of spins off to another direction of conversation, which isn't really worth covering. So yeah, let's just do these last couple of minutes.
I guess it's just where you get them from is probably where people's opinions will differ.
Yeah, because nowadays they say, oh, do whatever makes you happy. That's pretty much what it comes down to, as long as you don't hurt people. It's called the harm principle. It's pretty much the bedrock of liberalism. It's rooted from Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. So that's the bedrock of the Western civilization that we have today, and that's why there is such a sharp decline. And that's why you got people...
A sharp decline in what way?
Decline?
I mean, this is just such bullshit. It is like, yeah, and it's okay to do things as long as you're not harming other people. Why is that not a reasonable principle to work off? I mean, obviously things are more complicated than that, but as a ground sort of base level principle you can work from, if you're not harming others, there's no reason particularly to ban what you're doing. To me, that seems completely rational. He doesn't give a reason why he disagrees with that, other than he's a Muslim. But I mean, where's the...
I don't think...
Sorry, go ahead.
It's forgotten 20, 30 years ago. It was a lot more liberal. It's now, I think, a lot more restricted in a lot of ways. And I think it's religion that is to blame for this, because they're screaming all the time, well, we can't have that, we can't have that. And unfortunately, we have become accommodating, like we have become tolerant of the intolerant. And this is a problem that I see, because today, like, I'm not allowed to do a lot of things that I was able to do 30 years ago. And I think to myself, what the hell is going on? Like now, I don't want to get into it. It's terrible. I think we're going in the wrong direction here. And he is saying it's too liberal. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably best not to sort of dive too much into the politics, but I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think there are kind of attacks on freedom of speech and stuff like that. Although much of it does come, at least in the UK, it comes from Muslims, quite frankly. I mean, we have a Muslim MP who's getting up in Parliament saying that we need blasphemy laws. So,
yeah, crazy.
I mean, no, we do need liberalism when it comes to that. I don't need to bow to your stupid superstitions or have to worry because you get offended by it. And again, it's not like I'm going and knocking on the doors of Muslims' houses. I'm just saying, if you talk about this in public, I can critique it in public, and you don't get to ban me from doing that.
Exactly.
But this is the kind of thing he's pissed off about, though. This is what he thinks is liberalism: is people can critique Islam, or people can drink alcohol or something. He thinks that's terrible, and it's just like, well, tough, you know. That has not made our society worse. Getting rid of blasphemy laws made our society better, demonstrably. Good that we don't, you know, put people in prison for denying Christianity, which is what did used to happen back, you know, a few hundred years ago. So, anyways, right, last minute or two.
Interviews of people saying, yeah, we take phones. Yeah, I'd say yeah, and you know, and what? And that's because
Society, I feel, has declined.
Do you see? And because London is one of the most policed, like there's the most, what did they say, Big Brother cities on the planet. And the thing is, you can't have cameras everywhere. And if you just rely on threatening people with cameras and police, rather than, you know, instilling morality within them, society can't function like this. And in order to do this, you have to believe in a transcendent being and have a connection that's beyond the ethereal and the material and the physical.
Yeah, and that's a load of bollocks, though, isn't it? Because the point is, I mean, he's talking about London. Yeah, there's more kind of CCTV cameras here per square foot than I think anywhere else on the planet. That's true, and I don't like it, but it wasn't always the case. And you can roll the clock back 30, 40 years ago. Britain in the 1980s was not a particularly religious country, and yet it was far, you know, we have had spikes in crime and stuff like that in London, and there's there's various sociological reasons for this and all the rest of it. But to say that a lack of religion has been the cause of the decline in the last 20 years, Britain just has not really been a properly religious country, I would say, for at least 2 generations. And it's only very recently that we've seen spikes in crime and stuff, which is, again, it's not down to, I mean, there are more religious people living in London now than there were 20 years ago, many of them from his faith. Has that, so are we going to draw a correlation then that it's Islam is causing the crime? Because we can all play this game. So yes, it's a really terrible argument, I think. Sorry, Stubbs, you want to throw in on this?
Yeah, because he's pretending as though if you introduce Islam anywhere, you're not going to have any more crime. But excuse me, there is not a single day. Yeah, but there's not a single day where no, it's every day. There is not one exception. Every single day, another Muslim is being killed by a Muslim. Every day. And if you go religionofpeace.com, they document every single report about this. So they're not making this up. They're only going by reported crimes. And it's every single day that something happens. And if you have, for example, Christianity, I mean, you've got this thing with the priests who are abusing, children, whether it's boys or girls or whatever. You have imams doing the same thing. You have a lot of people committing humongous crimes. And just because they are religious does not stop them from doing so. And I don't understand. Look at Saddam Hussein, for example. He killed, I don't know how many thousands of people. And he was apparently a religious person. And this goes for everybody. Look at the Ayatollahs. They're killing Jews like crazy in Israel. That's all they want to do. They're sending, I don't know, there's wars between Iraq and Iran, both Muslims. So what is the point of him telling us that Islam or Sharia is going to stop anything when you have the grooming gangs in London? Come on, stop doing that. Stop lying. And especially stop lying to yourself, because I actually think he believes all this bullshit that he's spouting here.
Honestly, I'm never sure. I row back between he genuinely believes it, and not just him, all these Dawah guys too. He knows he's kind of bullshitting, but he'll do it for the religion kind of thing. So I'm not sure it's either of those, but but yeah, I mean, look, crime is everywhere in every society, and I'm not trying to suggest that religion is going to intrinsically make you more or less criminal, although I mean some evidence does point that way. When you look to countries like Japan, which isn't particularly religious, very low crime rate. I mean, the Scandinavian countries were very low crime rate. That has changed in recent years, and I won't bother telling you what else has changed in those countries in recent years. But look, either way, yeah, we know religious people, non-religious people, they're all going to do crime. So it's just a bullshit argument. You're basically saying that, yeah, the only thing that's going to stop crime is some strict version of Sharia, and we know that's not true. It's not like there's no crime in Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. So, it's just a non-argument, isn't it, really?
And by the way, Germany has just officially sort of crossed the line where the majority is now non-religious. In other words, Christianity has lost more than 50%.
Yeah, I think we must have crossed that line as well. I think in the last census here, it was, I think both Christians and non-religious were about 48% or something like that, maybe 47% each or something like that, and the rest was other minority religions. But so I imagine we've probably crossed that line ourselves in the last few years. But yeah, I just don't see religiosity really necessarily being connected with crime or not. Because you get criminals whether you're religious or not, so it's
right.
An argument. But
look at this whole discussion now with the abortion, for example. I mean, there are women dying now in the US because they abandoned abortion, and this is due to the religious right who are saying, yeah, we've abandoned this, we have pro-life and everything. Let's buy some more guns and kill more children, but don't allow abortions. It's crazy.
Well, actually, I'll just say one more thing, and then we'll play the last little bit of this this video. like talking about London in particular as well. Like 20 years ago, this is one of the most tolerant places in the country in terms of sexual minorities, gay people, etc. And in the last 20 years, it's now become the least tolerant place. I remember seeing a few
Oh,
years ago,
really?
like there was a
Oh,
survey
shit.
out, like who had the worst attitude, and London had the worst attitudes towards gay people. And I'm sorry, I do put a definitive link between the massive increase in the Muslim population here and that lack of tolerance towards gay people. I can't, because that is the only change really that can explain it. It's not like the rest of the British population suddenly became more homophobic. So, there are serious negative consequences for the spread of Islam, especially the kind of, hardcore Islamist version that he follows. But anyways, we've been waffling quite a bit now, Scott. So let's do this last. I think there's a last minute or two of this. Yeah, about a minute, and then we'll kind of wrap up.
Are you of the opinion that Islamic morals and principles would do better here than what we have now? Or how do you...
Absolutely. I think Islam is something that, because the Quran is a book for everyone and the Prophet is a messenger for everyone, it has to be for everyone. It can't just be, yes, for everyone except X, except Y, except Z. And that's why Islam came to preserve 5 principles, which is religion. That's why, if you look, honestly speaking, Islam is the only true monotheistic religion.
Hang on a minute. The apologetic used to be that it was only Islam and Judaism because Christianity had the Trinity. Now they've even got rid of Judaism. They're saying that that's not even considered a monotheistic religion.
And Zoroastrian, and there's so many.
But this used to be the apology. They would only say this because it was like to try and kick the Christians out of the religious conversation in terms of monotheism. But I've never heard them say that like Judaism wasn't considered monotheistic. So is he just throwing this in there now? He just
Well, look what the Quran says. The Quran says the God of the Jews has a son.
Oh, Ezra. Yes. Another, non-contradiction, apparently. Smile2Jannah. Yeah. Oh, dear. All right, let's finish this off.
And logically speaking, because the others claim to be, however, they've taken others to be equal to God.
Is that the fault of the religion or the people that claim to follow it, though?
That's always been the case. That's why other prophets had to be sent, because the scriptures kept getting corrupted, and when the prophet went, then the human nature.
So I'm going to pause it there just for a second, just because I'm hearing Michael Jackson in the background now. So I think if we break it up slightly, hopefully he hasn't got a copyright on his own channel. So but it'd just be sod's law that we would get one for it. So I'll carry on playing it now.
Took over of power, greed, and taking over. So that kind of disposition of people happened. But when it comes to the Quran is preserved. It's mass.
All right, we've got into Quranic preservation here, so we can essentially do it. There's another 10 minutes of this, but if you're enjoying
this is getting primitive.
It just goes into like comparative religion and talking about the Birmingham manuscript and all this, and we've done, it's completely off the topic of whether this agnostic should, believe in Islam or not. So I think we're going to end it there. Okay then, so Stops, you want to give a little summary of what we've watched tonight? How do you feel about this wonderful Dawah experience?
Okay, in my eyes, this was torture. It's amazing how simple, how childish, how absolutely like illogical, nonsensical, outdated. Like it's stupid. Really, it's dumb. Really, it is, because all these things have been debunked, refuted so many times, like for so many years, and they're still bringing up the same old stupid stuff. I don't understand it. Why is it that they think that bringing up something that was refuted 30 years ago, that is going to convince somebody today? I mean, we're living in the 21st century. We've got the age of the internet. I'm surprised that none of these guys ever pulled out a phone and said, oh, hang on, did you just say so-and-so? Let's just quickly ask ChatGPT what the real position is on this. It would be so easy to do a fact check on the
Although,
spot,
although you,
and
you've got
nobody
to be
does it.
careful. Stops. You've got to be careful because if Lily J has programmed ChatGPT, then
Okay, I'm
it'll tell
talking
you we're
about
living
the
on a
neutral
flat Earth.
version.
And
By the way, I caught ChatGPT in a lie, and I said, "Listen, why are you giving me a lie? Are you going to learn in the future not to lie to people?" And it took like 10 seconds, and which is an eternity for ChatGPT to actually come back with an answer. I said, I will have to think about it, or I will have to contemplate the answers that you have given me, the food for thought, or something like that. So,
well, we're getting into Skynet territory. It's becoming conscious, maybe. Yeah, I mean, look, look, I'll give my views on this. It was supposed to be. Oh, sorry. Be fair, Jurassic. The guy didn't give in too much.
well, he
Well,
didn't
look, I
change
mean,
anything. You're right, but
look,
he was
I think
weak to
probably
begin with.
the whole point of this video, at least at the beginning, was basically saying, look, he's supposed to be convincing why he should believe in Islam. And aside from throwing in a few, um, essentially poor man's Kalam cosmological argument, and why has something not come from nothing, and all this kind of crap, and then some really bad scientific miracle claims. At least we got a new one though this time. At least from my perspective, we got the clouds one, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, but like there was nothing, there was no content in there. Even this guy, who I think was really softballing him, is not going to walk away and think, yeah, that was enough for me to believe now that Islam is true. And that's supposed to be what he's doing that Dawah video for. But it comes back to the point, and I know I say it all the time, but these videos aren't for convincing people. They're for convincing Muslims to try to not leave the religion, throwing in all this half-baked crap to try and shore up people's beliefs, because no rational person is going to look at that and think they were great arguments. They were terrible. And I think it's good to go through them and to debunk them and laugh at them, for everyone's entertainment, because I do kind of enjoy that. So from that perspective, it wasn't torture for me. I quite enjoyed it. But it's been a while since I did a Smile2Jannah one, and it kind of makes me laugh. So yeah, overall, I just thought it was a terrible, terrible, terrible Dawah video, as virtually all of them are. And I think we kind of did it pretty well. But yeah, I would say if that guy truly is agnostic, he needs to be asking much harder questions than he did, because Smile2Jannah's argument would fall apart, and I think he would probably stop videoing it, or at least he wouldn't put it out on YouTube. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I thought it was dreadful, but the cloud thing made me laugh, so maybe worth it for that.
The entertainment value was there.
Yeah, well, look, this is partly what we're here for. It's a tough world we're living in, and if we can give people a little bit of a laugh on a Friday, then I feel like we've made some small contribution to making the world a bit nicer. Yeah, so look, I think we'll wrap it up there. As I didn't think it was worth doing the last 10 minutes of that video. We've seen enough. But I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat, to Chris, to Smile, to Steve, to whoever else, if I forgot anyone. Yeah, thanks for all joining in. Thanks for everyone who's listening now or listening back after we finish the live stream. We're not going to be here next Friday because I'm not available, but so Stops and I will be back Wednesday the 16th, so midweek
Inshallah.
next week. Yeah, hopefully, if Stops remembers this time, wink, wink. But yeah, we'll be back Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. UK time. We'll probably be doing another Dawah video. And yeah, we'll probably just be carrying on this Dawah trip for a while, just for the next few weeks, and then we'll kind of reevaluate in August. So I hope everybody enjoyed. Dude is asking, are we going to go on Discord? I don't think Stops is. I might pop in there for a bit on Discord. But yeah, that's pretty much it from us for tonight. So Stops, do you want to have the last word?
No, that's it. Cheers. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for paying attention and giving us your feedback. I like the comments that we saw. Thanks for that.
Cool. We'll see you next Wednesday.